de rapidement dire ce qui a pu être dit dans vos discussions, juste 2 minutes. Donc, on aimerait bien en savoir un petit peu plus sur le processus qui a guidé vos discussions, les échanges. Et je pense que c'est bien d'avoir quelqu'un qui soit gardien ou gardienne du temps et qui puisse nous aider à respecter ces temps importés. Tiwonge, est-ce que c'est une question ou est-ce qu'on peut commencer à partager cohorte après cohorte? J'ai vu que vous avez levé la main.
No, it's not a question. I just
Alors, ce n'est
wanted
pas une question. Je voulais juste parler de ce que nous avons parlé dans la cohorte. Donc, voilà, la cohorte numéro 1 peut donc partager. Alors, c'est bon, Tiwonge, si vous voulez, allez-y, allez-y, c'est bien. Très, très bien. Alors, je suis prête. Donc, dans la cohorte 6, nous avons parlé de la riposte VIH. Nous essayons de voir comment soutenir les filles et les jeunes femmes. Nous avons également parlé de mentorat et de l'autonomisation, comment faire qu'elles évoluent au chapitre, et également parler des filles qui vivent avec le VIH-Sida. Nous avons parlé de toutes sortes de questions. Merci. Merci beaucoup, Tiwonge. C'était un peu rapide. Alors, je ne sais pas si tout le monde a été en mesure de comprendre, mais on a compris qu'il s'agissait de soutenir les filles et il s'agit de
Le
faire du
groupe
mentorat
1
auprès des
va
jeunes filles
demander ceux qui ont dit
et leur
qu'ils
permettre
allaient
de trouver un
faire des
espace.
pancartes. Qu'est-ce qui sera inscrit sur les pancartes, s'il vous plaît? J'ai besoin de ça
Il y a
urgemment.
des interférences, des microphones sont allumés. Cohorte numéro 2, est-ce que vous pourriez parler au groupe ou est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un d'autre qui voudrait parler pour le groupe, au nom du groupe? Cohorte numéro 2, allez-y. Kiwonge a fait un travail formidable. Elle a vraiment fait une présentation courte de moins de 2 minutes. Alors, vous avez la parole.
Ok, rebonjour à tous. Vous me recevez?
Bonjour, bonjour. S'il vous plaît, vous pouvez parler.
Ok.
Yes, you can.
La cohorte 2, nous
Yes, but
avons...
you're breaking.
La cohorte 2, nous avons aimé le panel de nos leaders. Tous ensemble, nous avons retenu qu'en tant que jeune fille, il faut savoir oser. Il faut avoir le courage. Il faut être forte, audacieuse et surtout avoir confiance en soi. Ne pas se sous-estimer. Et comme idée, nous avons voulu faire une campagne d'encouragement de la jeune fille à être un leader. Et comme moyen, nous pouvons utiliser les réseaux sociaux comme Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, TikTok. Nous avons voulu aussi faire une marche avec des pancartes où il serait inscrit « Moi, jeune fille, je voudrais être aussi un leader ». Comme deuxième idée, nous avons voulu faire une campagne de motivation pour la jeune fille à l'inciter à être un leader aussi délégué dans des écoles ou universités. Et comme moyen, nous nous avons voulu faire une marche avec les jeunes filles où nous porterons des t-shirts où il serait inscrit moi, jeune fille, je peux être aussi déléguée dans mon école. Bon, voilà, c'est un peu ce que nous avons fait. S'il y a d'autres qu'à rajouter, je crois bien que notre leader Sephora pourra le faire.
Voilà, donc pour résumer tout ce qu'elle a dit, nous avons échangé sur la thématique du panel et nous avons proposé des idées pour concevoir une campagne. Donc, ceci se résume à...
Peço desculpas, Sephora, o tempo do vosso grupo já passou.
Ah, je
Peço
n'entends.
desculpas, Sephora, o
Oui,
tempo
Sephora,
do
c'est moi.
coorte 2 já passou e vamos ter que passar para outro coorte.
D'accord.
Apontamos as propostas que a Yara Letícia adiantou e se
On va
houverem mais...
passer à une autre cohorte. Et nous avons bien pris note de ce que Yara a pu développer. S'il y a d'autres idées, n'hésitez pas, il y a le Jamboard. Je vois que les groupes ont même pensé aux campagnes, aux méthodes. Donc, vraiment, félicitations. C'est très, très bien. Est-ce qu'on peut donner la parole à une autre cohorte numéro 4? Vous avez la parole.
Coorte 4, Pascaline, à vontade.
Cohorte numéro 4, Pascaline, vous avez la parole. Merci, merci beaucoup. J'espère que vous m'entendez. Alors, je vais présenter les idées de la première cohorte. Donc, l'idée principale était de lutter contre les grossesses précoces, car ça devient un problème très important aujourd'hui. Il y a deux façons de le faire. On peut proposer des idées telles que avoir un centre d'accueil pour pour les nourrissons, pour les jeunes, pour ces jeunes femmes. Et ainsi, on peut soutenir ces jeunes femmes. Il y a une interférence.
Yeah, so we've also realized
Donc,
that
je disais que il y a eu un autre grand problème. Nous n'avons plus le son de l'oratrice. Pascaline, votre microphone? Excusez-moi. Nous sommes également rendu compte qu'il y avait un problème de normalisation et d'accès aux services des fournisseurs de services. Donc, lorsque une jeune femme veut avoir accès aux services, elle est jugée et nous voulons normaliser cela, faire en sorte qu'elle ait droit à ces services. Donc, nous faisons de la sensibilisation. Nous pensons également à l'utilisation des réseaux sociaux, avoir un mot dièse, un hashtag. Car vous savez que l'influence de ces mots dièses est importante. Donc, on a eu Black Lives Matter. On peut avoir un hashtag contre les grossesses précoces pour l'utilisation d'espèces de préservatifs et leur mise à disposition facilitée. On pourrait également avoir des programmes à la radio. Donc, ainsi, on peut développer des idées pour lutter contre les grossesses précoces aujourd'hui. Merci beaucoup, Pascaline, c'est superbe. Et votre groupe a déjà bien évolué s'agissant des idées à exploiter. Est-ce qu'on peut donner la parole à une autre cohorte, peut-être la cohorte numéro 3? Est-ce que vous êtes prêts? Cohorte 3,
Itauana
êtes-vous
está
prêts?
aparecido para apresentar e já abriu o microfone. À vontade, Itauana.
Si tout le monde est prêt, vous avez la parole.
No corte 3, nós estávamos a debater de vários
Bonjour à
assuntos,
toutes,
inclusive sobre a
à toutes.
campanha que iremos apresentar na próxima semana.
Et ici, nous avons parlé de beaucoup de choses, y compris la
Primeiro, temos
campagne que nous allons
Adolescent
présenter.
e VBG, porque
Et
temos a intenção
nous
incluir
avons
dois temas em
choisi le
um, a
sujet
violência
de
baseada em
VIH
muitas vezes os seres
et
positivos
la
já
violence
temos um
basée sur
certo
le
tipo
genre.
de violência.
Souvent, les personnes positives
A
au
violência
VIH
psicológica.
sont
Então, nós
victimes
achamos
de
que a nossa
discrimination,
campanha
de
ela deve ser
violence.
especificamente para os setores chaves, não
Et
é? Que
notre
são
campagne
violência, saúde,
devrait essentiellement
depressão,
parler des secteurs clés.
realmente não, eles são pessoas importantes nesta área de atividade. Nós temos
Et
notado a
il
discriminação,
s'agit
a discriminação
là
nos
de
meios
sensibiliser, par exemple, les forces de l'ordre qui jouent un rôle important dans
e
ce
quando
domaine.
vai ao setor da polícia, a primeira pergunta que lhe fazem é o que a senhora fez
Et
para que levasse a
lorsque
cabo
les personnes sont
seu
victimes de
marido.
violences, lorsqu'ils vont se
Foi
rendre aux
relevado
postes de
efetivamente
police,
porque houvesse uma
la
relação.
première question
Então,
qui leur est
é
posée, c'est
importante saber
qu'est-ce que
quais
vous
são
avez
os
fait
outros setores
pour
importantes
être battu
que
par votre
ajudam
mari? Peut-être que vous avez
essas
été victime
vítimas de violência
d'harcèlement vu votre
perceberem
accoutrement.
que são seropositivas e também a nossa campanha
Donc,
será
il
em
faut
língua local.
pouvoir
Iremos fazer
gérer
programas
le problème de ces
educativos,
personnes qui sont victimes de
principalmente
violences.
radiofónicos, em distritos mais
Donc, on
remotos.
essaie d'avoir
Claro que sim,
des
que
programmes
muito
télé,
mais
des programmes
vítimas e
radio
muito mais pessoas
dans
precisam de
des
informação.
espaces ou des contrées
Queremos
lointaines,
divulgar melhor esta atividade para podermos
car
apresentar
nous
na
voyons qu'il y a de plus
próxima
en plus de
semana.
personnes qui
Mas o
n'ont pas
nosso
accès à
objetivo é esse,
l'information et qui
trabalhar
sont
com os setores
victimes.
de
Donc,
atendimento dos
on va
voluntários que
essayer d'améliorer les
a
choses la
essas
semaine prochaine.
vítimas.
On va essayer
Muito
de faire en
obrigada.
sorte
Este é um breve resumo.
de connaître
Muito
de
obrigada,
toucher les
Itauana,
secteurs clés
por esse
qui
resumo
doivent venir
breve
en aide aux
e
victimes. Merci
profundo.
beaucoup.
Podemos escutar o coorte 1, por favor?
Cohorte 1, s'il vous plaît.
Coorte 1, quem vai apresentar?
Cohorte numéro 1. Qui fera la présentation? Oui,
Oh, sorry, not
Pascaline a
okay.
parlé au nom de la cohorte
Apologies for
numéro 1.
cohort 1.
Donc, toutes mes
Cohorte
excuses à la cohorte. Donc, maintenant, nous passons à la cohorte 4. C'était une petite erreur.
Restituta. À vontade, restituta.
Yeah. Cohort 4, based on our discussion,
Alors,
we
en se basant sur notre discussion, nous nous sommes accordés sur une éducation compréhensive, une éducation sexuelle compréhensive pour renforcer les capacités des jeunes femmes et des femmes pour prendre des décisions avisées afin de se protéger et également leur permettre de vivre une vie positive. Merci.
Obrigada, cohorte 4. Isto aqui é mesmo ser breve.
Merci à la cohorte numéro 4.
Podemos então passar
Très bref.
à cohorte 5.
Est-ce qu'on peut passer à la cohorte
Fechamos
5
com
maintenant?
7. Immaculate, por
Et
favor.
nous allons terminer avec la cohorte 7. Immaculate? Bonjour tout le monde, et c'était une bonne transition. Je vais faire une présentation au nom de la cohorte 5. Alors, nous avons décidé d'utiliser le travail artistique pour faire passer un message autour du VIH et des médicaments relatifs au VIH dans nos communautés. Et ceci va mettre l'accent sur les jeunes filles ou les jeunes femmes et les adolescentes qui sont infectées par la maladie. Donc, nous allons faire un message pour faire passer les ondes positives et de penser de façon positive. Utiliser également la même plateforme pour créer des projets artistiques qui va créer une réaction positive au niveau de ces jeunes filles pour qu'elles puissent avoir une réaction positive face à la maladie. Je pense que ceci peut être publié sur YouTube ou sur les réseaux sociaux. Ce sera de petites vidéos ou qui pourront être utilisées. Aussi, ce peut être des images qui pourront être collées partout dans les murs des communautés. Le message est clair. Il faudrait que les jeunes puissent conduire l'élaboration du message au lieu que ce message soit élaboré par d'autres personnes. Et je pense que c'est ainsi notre approche. Merci, Immaculate, pour ce partage. Toutes mes excuses à Nomchebo si je prononce mal votre nom. Vous avez laissé un message que je n'ai pas vu malheureusement. Toutes mes excuses. Code 7. Bonjour tout le monde, je m'appelle Lamboulelo et je vais m'exprimer au nom de la cause 7. Notre campagne, c'est-à-dire notre idée, c'est de pouvoir faire une campagne sur le VIH-Sida. En Afrique du Sud, il y a des relations. Les relations entre les personnes plus âgées et les jeunes filles n'arrivent pas ici à négocier l'utilisation du préservatif face à leurs partenaires qui sont plus âgés. Alors, nous allons cibler les jeunes femmes et les adolescentes, donc les filles et les adolescentes, pour adopter des pratiques plus sécurisantes pour elles et également les autonomiser pour qu'elles puissent rester à l'école. Donc, il faut trouver des moyens pour qu'elles puissent se soutenir financièrement. Un moyen de les autonomiser, c'est de leur donner des formations sur les petits métiers et comment commencer une petite entreprise. Et également, si elles ont déjà un petit emploi, comment se présenter dans cet emploi et améliorer ses compétences. Notre campagne va également autonomiser les personnes qui sont positives au VIH-Sida pour qu'elles puissent avoir confiance en elles-mêmes et nous allons utiliser les canaux tels que les réseaux sociaux. Nous allons faire également des petits sketchs parce que ce n'est pas tout le monde qui a le même niveau d'éducation. Donc, parfois, il faut utiliser des canaux qui sont plus simples à comprendre, surtout dans le contexte du VIH-Sida. Malheureusement, nous avons perdu l'intervenante. Est-ce que vous êtes de retour? Oui, est-ce que je peux continuer? Oui, c'était notre idée de la cohorte 7. Tout ceci pour autonomiser la jeune fille et les adolescentes. Merci à la cohorte 7. Merci également à toutes les autres cohortes pour les idées vraiment merveilleuses que vous avez partagées avec nous. Et je suis impatiente de voir le résultat de vos campagnes et les stratégies que vous allez utiliser. Et ce sont bien sûr des éléments très pertinents que vous avez mentionnés. Ce sont des idées très fantastiques. Je vais maintenant donner la parole à Erika.
Bonsoir, merci. Merci, Kanisa. Merci. Merci, Kanisa. J'ai la parole, j'espère. Bonsoir. Je voudrais remercier tous les panélistes pour les très bonnes présentations et un grand merci aux participants et aux animateurs. Vous avez tous été superbes, pleinement engagés et participatifs. Je suis très contente de votre engagement expressionnel. Nous avons appris que l'activisme est un mouvement collectif pour les changements et nous devons nous exprimer sans crainte. Nous devons avoir des valeurs de féministes selon lesquelles nous pouvons partager le pouvoir. Je voudrais souligner quelques points clairs sur l'activisme. Il faut qu'on parle plus fort, être impliqué. Connaissez vos droits, formez votre équipe. Merci beaucoup pour tous les participants. Je voudrais rappeler les devoirs pour la semaine prochaine. On va travailler en groupe, on va concentrer sur l'idée collective et on va présenter notre idée dans le plénière pendant la prochaine session. Je vous conseille d'être créative. Vous pouvez dessiner, écrire un poème ou faire une vidéo. Aussi, regardez la vidéo sur le cadre de Gender at Work. Et maintenant, pour l'évaluation de cette session, merci d'écrire vos impressions sur le lien multimédia. On va mettre ça dans le boîte de chat ou sur WhatsApp. Merci et on va finir maintenant. Bonne soirée. Merci beaucoup. Et je pense qu'on va écouter le très bonne musique. Merci beaucoup à tous. Bonne soirée.
Thank you all. Mariana, the links in the chat box.
Merci à toutes et à tous. Mariana, est-ce qu'on peut avoir le lien dans la boîte de discussion? Le lien pour l'évaluation. Sur ce, quand Zanale va jouer la musique, je vous encourage à vous lever et à faire un peu de mouvement, bouger un peu, bouger sur vous pendant que nous mettons fin à la session. Lever, bouger les pieds, bouger les bras, bouger le corps.
There you go, Henrika.
Henrika, bravo.
Oui,
c'est bien ça.
J'aime danser, moi. Je suis au Cameroun maintenant. Où est le Camerounien?
Eleanor, do you want to get up
and do respect the women of the world? Remember, you all had mothers. We gotta make this land a better land than the world in which we live. And we gotta help each man be a better man with the kindness that we give. I know we can make it. I know that we can. I know darn well we can work it out. Yes, we can. I know we can. Yes, we can. Or why can't we? If we want it, yes, we can. I know we can make it work. I know we can make it if we try. Oh, yes, we can. I know we can. Yes, we can. Gosh almighty. Oh, yes, we can. I know we can. And we gotta take care of all the children, the little children of the world, 'cause they are strongest hope for the future, the little bitty boys and girls. We got to make this land a better land than the world in which we live. And we gotta help each man be a better man with the kindness that we give.
Oh, we're just putting
I know we can make it. I know that we can. I know darn well we can work it out. Oh, yes, we can. I know we can. Yes, we can. Oh, why can't we? If we want it, yes, we can. I know we can make it work. I know that we can make it if we try. Gosh almighty. Yes, we can. I know we can.
Yes, Emery, it's Sky. For those who want to stay and done, you're welcome. If you want to leave, that's welcome too, as long as, you
Si vous
know.
voulez rester danser, vous êtes invité à le faire. Si vous voulez vous déconnecter également, vous êtes invité à le faire. Mais c'est tout pour aujourd'hui. Merci, merci, merci. À la semaine prochaine.
I know we can make it work. I know we can make it if we try. Gosh, your body. We can make it all. Oh, yeah, we can make it all. Oh, you only try. Yeah, yeah, we can make it all. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard.
Hi, Rex.
Hello, hello, hello.
Not yet.
I'll be bringing it now.
Hi, Kanisa. I like the extra participant that we have. Hi, Rex. We have the
She's
most.
so bored, shame. She's always asking, does this finish? When does this finish?
No, it's so good to have her on.
This is your triple load multitasking, Kanisa.
And then always calling for that flexibility, no? Because it's from yesterday to today was started coughing yesterday, so today couldn't go today. It's like there's no way to plan.
Hey, Rex, so good to see you.
Yes, well, it was a pleasure to observe all of you in action again. So I see the time. I'm just wondering if you want to share comments. I'm seeing the full list of people here, so great to see you all. Just what stood out for you in session 3, and what was different about session 3 compared to sessions 1 and 2? What's changing in this space, and really what stood out for you? And I will take notes.
David, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll start right away. Hello, everyone. I'll speak mostly about the period of joining into the breakout rooms. The first session 1 and session 2, I think people are finding a hard time to join the breakout rooms, and I think there was also internet connections, and you'd find that someone who was in a breakout room 3 had to join the cohort again, and then they would end up going to another breakout room such as 1. But this time around in session 3, it has been fairly smooth. Only had about 1 or 2 people who got disconnected, but the rest it was okay. Less internet disconnections than session 1 and session 2. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Davis.
On that note, I think I just have a brief for everyone. It seems like UN Women has been able to give their bundles, data packs and bundles to a fair few people, but also not to a fair few people. If you've joined the plenary WhatsApp group, there's a lot of back and forth. It seems like most country offices have, have been able to formulate that, but a few country offices, people have been unresponsive. So that could be the reason, for why some cohorts are working a little bit better, but some are still not. Yeah. And Zanele and Adelia, we can talk later about what happened with your cohort rooms or what didn't.
Okay.
Maybe I can, now that you've talked about our room, we were locked out of the room and then we lost a lot of people, but it also worked for the best because the 10 people that were able to come back were really interactive, but they didn't have, for some reason, their mics would not work. So there was a technical hitch. But Zanele did an excellent job of picking up what they were writing in their WhatsApp, in their chat, and putting it on the Jamboard. And then at the beginning, I think we had a problem with the translation. I think people are too used to speaking English. They were not willing to move to look for the button.
Great, thanks, Hendrika. Others?
Okay, I'll go next. We struggled, myself included, a lot with connectivity in our group today. And usually we never have a challenge. And I want to thank Tino for jumping in, and continuing, because for 10 minutes, I couldn't reconnect. And I now see the beauty of having a co-facilitator. It worked beautifully. When I returned to the room, everything was working perfectly and we managed to complete the exercise. What I do because of connectivity, I immediately encourage people to use the chat more and the WhatsApp, because I've noticed that there will be 1 or 2 people, but towards the end of our group, we are usually a full group of 25 every day. Today we were about 10. Oh, the other people had fallen off, but we've picked up the activity on WhatsApp. Tino wrote immediately after, and then people are already started posting their reflection and the activity in the chat.
Thank you, Nosipo. Who would like to go next? I see, Lucrèce, you have your hand up.
Oui.
Oui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, merci. Je vais essayer de parler en anglais.
Non, mais ça peut être en français aussi, je m'en occupe.
Ah, d'accord, ok. Et dans la session, c'est très bien passé. Et le panel aussi était fantastique. On a apprécié, c'était la différence, le panel qui avait existé. Et puis, le problème qu'on a eu au niveau de la cohorte 2, et on a constaté, c'était un problème technique. On était en cohorte quand ça s'est interrompu. Et je ne sais pas ce qui s'est passé, mais la réunion était fermée. Et ça a bouleversé un peu, ça a pris environ quelques minutes avant qu'on se retrouve encore en cohorte. C'est à part ça, et les participants de la cohorte n'étaient pas nombreux. On était à peine une dizaine, moins d'une dizaine, je pense. Et puis, d'autres étaient venus en retard, ils n'ont pas pu suivre le panel. Donc, ce qui a fait qu'ils n'ont pas pu bien participer à l'exercice de cohorte. Bon, j'ai essayé de faire quelques rappels. À part ça, je pense que le reste, tout s'est très bien passé. Malgré ça, cela ne nous a pas empêché de bien faire le travail. Voilà. Merci.
Sorry, I have a question, a follow-up question. Is it okay, Rex, if I ask?
Go ahead, yes.
Lucrèce, why do you think that people were not able to follow the panel? Is it just the interpretation button, or do you think it was something else?
Si je comprends bien, pourquoi je suis balancée entre les panels. Wait, I just explained here. Je continue en
Oui,
français ou bien je
oui, tout à
continue en
fait.
français?
Continue.
OK.
Je ne sais pas si j'ai bien traduit, mais la question, j'ai cru comprendre que certaines personnes dans ton cohorte n'ont pas pu nécessairement suivre toute la présentation des panélistes. Est-ce que c'est ça?
Oui, c'est bien ça.
On sait
Oui.
pourquoi?
Oui, et ils disaient qu'ils n'avaient la connexion les embêtait, qu'ils n'avaient pas de connexion pour pouvoir vite se connecter, qu'ils avaient des problèmes de connexion. Dès qu'ils se connectaient, ça se déconnectait. Donc, c'était le problème qu'ils avaient avancé.
C'est bien, merci.
Oui.
Oui, parce que si je peux ajouter, la traduction français, c'était très bien pour tous les panélistes. C'est dommage qu'on n'a pas connecté, mais la traduction était très, très bonne.
Merci, Hendrika. C'est bon, c'est bon. Other observations, Ashley, now that we're doing this. Oh, no, je vois Adelia. Adelia, por favor.
Olá, Rex. Obrigada, merci.
No idioma da sua preferência. Pode falar.
Obrigada. Non, c'était juste pour compléter un peu le CRES. Je suis tout à fait d'accord avec ce qu'elle a dit. Et avec Hendrika aussi, les traductions, l'interprétation en français, c'est toujours fantastique. Fantastique, sans plus. Et je ne sais pas, Lucrèce, tu me diras si j'ai tort, j'ai senti aujourd'hui, plus que les sessions précédentes, une meilleure connexion du groupe dans le cohort 2. Dans le corps 2. Donc, le groupe maintenant commence, je pense qu'il commence à se connaître, ils collaborent plus, ils discutent plus aussi. Voilà, c'était juste pour ajouter ça.
Merci.
Just loving how Eleanor's cat looks like it's also listening to the debrief. It just looks so serious. It has. But for us, I think in cohort 3, I don't know if we are ever going to have the predicted number of participants. We've never been 15 participants. And today, I think we were 9 or even less. No, 5. And then, yeah, 5. We were 5 today, yeah. So I don't know what that means for the group as such, but the ones where they were really very excited. And one thing that I think they really liked was to have something practical that is connected to what they do. Because yeah, it's some comments they had at the end, like they liked the lesson. Today, the lesson was whatever. So I think it's like connecting to issues that they could bring in issues that they're dealing with every day and connect with what was being addressed. So, but I still felt rushed in the session, like it could have gone a little bit slower. So yeah, I think something for us to still think about, even with the guest speakers. I think 10 minutes is too little, maybe for that.
Yeah, we didn't do the Q&A.
We didn't even do the Q&A. Yeah, there was no time for that. So I think, yeah, we just have to think through that, yeah, and the exercises as well, yeah. Like last week, I felt the timing was perfect, but today, I mean, they managed to do the exercises, but we were rushing them. Like, okay, we are there, we need to go, now we need to think about this, now we need to think about that so that we have something to present, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's something that we can try to work better on in the next sessions. But that cohesion that I think cohort 2 is talking about, yeah, that connection between the groups, I think is becoming a little bit more tangible, yeah. I think they're enjoying that, and maybe if they do the homework and prepare the campaign together, then yeah, there might also something else might grow out of there.
I would like to ask a question now that we've heard from the Francophone group and the Lusophone group. You were, all of you were much more deliberate about bringing the languages into the plenary. And how did you all feel about that? What was, that was a shift in your thinking and approach from the previous weeks? And what do you think happened there? How did that go for you and for the participants? Anyone can speak to this. I see Ayushi's hand and Eleanor's hand. Please go ahead.
Eleanor, your hand was raised up. Go.
Just in terms of, I think that it worked really well, having the translation. I think it was just with some people were not sure how to get that function going. But I think that was, I'm sure that we can iron that out. And it was really great that that we shared the pic. And what Nucha also did, thank you so much, Nucha. She screenshotted what it looks like on your mobile device. Because I think that that's probably also where that came in. A lot of people are connecting with their phones. But just to second again what everybody said about the panel today, they were really powerful, but the speakers have been, and you know, I always get the sense that the young women feel incredibly inspired, especially when the speakers are also younger women. So I loved that, what's her name, Sidia, that she mentioned that she's 26, and you know, I think that really does something. But I really felt like the cohesion was there. It never felt difficult for people to get talking. So I went, both Nocha and I, we went into the breakout rooms and people would they would talk. And I think that that's really a good sign of that kind of cohesion that's starting to build.
Excellent. Thank you, Eleanor. And Ayushi?
Thank you, Eleanor. Just to go back to your previous two questions as well. The vibe today was definitely very different from the second session. There was a lot more work happening and a lot less flowiness and ease, I think, which is why Henrika and I thought that we'd end with some movement, because it definitely felt heavier than the last session. And like Kanisa said, it was much more rushed as well than the last session was. At least for me and in my headspace, and all, you know, all the things that were simultaneously happening, as you know, the Zoom room's not working and all of that. That also had, I think, quite a bit of impact on my energy as well, which it's bound to. I think that's something that I learned with experience, right? Or with time. That's one. What stood out for me also, like everyone else said, was the participation. People were more participatory today in the cohort spaces as well. Our numbers also in the cohort rooms were less this time, but I think because people who belonged to other cohorts sort of left. I looked at the names on the cohort lists, and most of them were cohort 1 people this time. So it's working slightly, but obviously, you know, people start weeding themselves out as one progresses in the session. There's also the bundle issue, which UN Women needs to sort out. The third, to add to your last question and to Eleanor's point, I thought it worked better. It worked well, the different languages. Obviously, you know, the English-speaking folks, they haven't had to use interpretation for the most of the time in the pandemic, and that's going to take them time. It took other language people 2 years, right, to get acquainted. So it's going to take the English people time to move, and, you know, we need to be able to do that. So I'm particularly not concerned about that. It's been a long time coming. I thought it worked very well. At least the languages, but they need to learn, and I need to learn. You know, the English speakers need to learn. Yeah, that's it, truly. But also, thank you. I thought the co-facilitation and the tech worked beautifully this time. So thank you, and thank you, Zanele. There's a lot that you're doing. And I know how complicated that is, particularly with the run of the show that will not keep to time. So, you know, thank you for that.
Excellent. Nkechi, you have your hand up.
Hi, Rex. So I'll quickly just speak to some of the ideas. I'm going to try not to repeat what my peers have already shared. For me, particularly, I think the interpretation worked so well today. It was fantastic because just being able to follow the interpretation when it was in Portuguese or in French, it was very fluent. And for me as an English speaker, I didn't really miss anything. I think when it comes to some of the challenges we had around, the English language participants being able to move, find the interpretation button and get to translation, I think for me, I was actually seeing it as one of the learning that could come out of this because, somehow they would, when they are able to solve it, that's something they take away from it. Because I also know that I struggle with it a lot just when COVID came. Then another thing that I wanted to share that has come out for me is the ownership that the participants have taken, especially of the WhatsApp groups. So I see that today particularly people who didn't know what link that they could use to get back to the plenary session actually reached out to Davis and I on the WhatsApp group to say, please, where's the WhatsApp? Where's the link? And even before we started, people were reaching out to say, please, can we have the link? So people are feeling more comfortable using the WhatsApp groups to connect with us. Also, something else that is happening in my group on the WhatsApp is that they have started planning in country on how they can actually work together. So we have people in Uganda and Malawi trying to find out where they can meet as a group in person to continue to plan even before today's session. So for me, that's something good that is happening with this WhatsApp. It's helping them to be able to self-organize and also to plan together on how to take this further when this whole process is over. For the guest speakers, I think they were really awesome, all of them, especially my sister Nasipo. And I noticed, like Eleanor said, a lot of happening was happening when the panelists were speaking. You could see so many people using the chat box, sharing on how they were feeling. And I felt maybe it was a good thing that we allowed that to run its course. Because I think that's really like the platform where most of them get inspired and are able to say, oh, I can do this. So as much as possible, maybe we'll continue to provide more time for them to listen to these guest speakers because Hendrika, Ayushi, and Kainza have done a great job of selecting great, amazing people to come into this space. And then for today, I also felt rushed. So at a point, Davis and I, we actually had a conversation on whether the time we gave to the group was enough for them to actually do all we wanted them to do. And I found that I kept going through all the rooms, just trying to make sure that they were on the conversation. And I wish we had more time, to be able to do that with them. But I hope we can continue to do that in WhatsApp. So that's it for me, Rex.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm seeing the stuff in the chat. Are there others who would like to add, really, if there's anything that hasn't been said, please step in. I'm seeing a lot of the tech people who haven't yet spoken, but it's not an obligation. Just if you want to say something that maybe hasn't been mentioned from your groups.
May I, Rex, Adelia?
Please.
Okay, just to add, I think we discussed this with Kanisa and our group, not today, the previous session. Participants were maybe tired of reading and listening the interpretation. And they were complaining about things that we could not change, like reading the chat always in English. And they were saying, we're tired of reading the chat. Everything is in English. Everything is in English. And we said, the people who are writing in English, they are Anglophones. So please, if you want to write something, you write it in French. And the Lusophone people will also write in Portuguese. So, but I think it's this feeling of participating in conferences where many of the materials and speakers are Anglophones. So we couldn't do anything, but they were complaining, and we explained, but still they were complaining. So I think this change of speaking different language all the time also release them and make them feel comfortable and make them feel that we prepare things for them also, knowing that they are not necessarily Anglophones, but they could listen also on the original version with emotions and everything. So I think it was a great step for this session.
Thank you for that. Partly because I mean, I feel your pain, and I share it because my teaching life was made up of that, and I think that one thing, it strikes me, what you've said is exactly the solution, is to encourage them to intervene in the language of their choice, and so that it creates more dynamic on the chat in different languages. And as we've done in other places, and if you'd like, I mean, we could figure out how to do that. Just as I did now on the chat, it would, maybe it's something that I could do, although I haven't been present all the way through the session, is to be translating a little bit more on the chat into other languages. It's more work, but it does create a more inclusive chat. It's work. I think you guys are doing it. I mean, all of the instructions are coming across clearly in 3 languages. But having said that, and I'll stop talking, but it's like you can never get this right. So don't beat yourselves up. It's fraught. It's always going to be challenging. People will always complain. And at the end of the day, we're in it together. So wait, I'm seeing Nucha. Yes, the muting of participants. There were a number. And you know what I noticed, in fact, was if you were listening in the original track, if you were listening in the translation, you didn't necessarily hear that the original track was having interference happening. That happened with some of the Portuguese speakers. There was some very long conversation going on elsewhere. So yes, that is an interesting challenge for you.
Yeah, but it's such a challenge for the interpreters too, because they can't interpret it.
No,
right?
exactly.
They just mention that it's too much, we can't do it. And it's fair, they can't hear.
Oh yes, correct.
It's very funny.
Okay, Mariana, I see you're there. Does anyone else want to add before we move? There we are.
Yeah, Rex, I was just going to add here to this last bit that I was trying to keep track of everybody with the open mics, but it would be good if for the next sessions we decide on one person to do it, because I know that I was trying to mute someone, but I think that someone else was also trying to mute this person, so the mic kept open, and this was, yeah, just so like if we can decide on one person, I can do that. Yeah, we don't duplicate efforts.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, Mariana, because interestingly, right, my instinct is to say everyone on it, whoever is unmuted, just click on the button, but I see a point completely, because the multiple people are clicking on the button. And though, thank you for offering to do that. I wouldn't say that you should, because you're already doing something else simultaneously. Working in the chat box. If there are, I don't know, 2 other people who would want to volunteer and who would want to maybe divide the session, we do it in the first half and then I do it in the second half kind of situation. Maybe that helps. I don't know, any volunteers? If no volunteers, I'm gonna start naming people. Okay, thank you, Nucha, for not doing that to me. I need one more person. Okay, okay, yeah, I think that would work, Adelia, though you're always in the Portuguese interpretation, right? Okay, but okay. Oh, in the French, right? Mariana is in the Portuguese. So maybe then you hear the people immediately as well. Like you hear the interpreters having trouble. Okay, so that sounds great. Thank you, Nucha, Dalia. Muting responsibilities are all yours. I do not envy you. Yes, I will make you co-host. And MJ, you as well, because we're the only two people who don't follow off the plenary. Between the two of us, we'll remember.
So I'd like to just, if I may, make one question, which is, as in the last week, you've made observations about how the groups are maybe smaller, or how you lose people along the way, possibly because the connection problem. So I'm wondering if you've been able to keep track of that, and whether or not you can, is an easy way to just sort of, just track it over time. And so that at the end of the day, you've at least got that data. And if there are other things that you can do, I mean, I think your explanation, Ayushi, about not all the participants got access to bundles and stuff is really useful. Those kinds of observations about, okay, what would it take to enable more people to come back, or those sorts of things, if you need to direct that to UN Women. So just a little bit of an analysis. And I know that you've got a whole lot on your plate, and now you're in this very rapid paced, you've got to do this again this time next week. So I don't want to suggest anything that's too onerous for you. And I'm wondering whether you might be able to delegate a kind of a tracking exercise within your team. And then maybe the other observation is, Ayushi, I was a little bit, I have been struck by how many things you were doing at the same time, and how effortlessly it appears. And it certainly didn't appear to me that you were doing more this week than you'd done in previous weeks. I think the question comes up, is there any of what you were doing that could be shared differently within the team, so that you're not left playing all of these multiple roles at the same time? And I have no idea. I don't know the answer to that question. So those are maybe two questions that I would just leave you with, and I don't think you need to necessarily answer them right away. Yeah.
If it's okay, could you please elaborate on what do you think, what did you mean about a tracking framework?
Well, I'm just wondering, actually, if each of the cohort teams, facilitator and tech person, can just from your own memory, the way that Kanisa just did, it's like, how many people were in this session? How many people were in the previous session? How were in the first session? And just sort of like you could share that. And if you actually are able to say, I know that in the first two sessions, you didn't necessarily know everyone, so you may not be able to do this by memory, but it's a little bit like keeping track of attendance, so that you know who your people are, that are your key players that keep coming back. And then the ones that were there but maybe haven't come back, and is there any way of reaching out to them to sort of say, hey, we're still doing this, do you want to come back? I don't know, but it may be delegated to each of the cohort's leads to sort of just do a little bit of thinking about that, and then share that information with the lead team, so that you have better information about what's going on in each of the cohorts. And it strikes me that something different is happening in each of them. So it's complicated to really make sense of it, but it's useful data, since it's a question that several of you have brought up. And I don't think you need to worry. Kinesis thing, we're never going to get 15. I don't think that's really, the goal necessarily. We don't know how UN Women identified those 15 people. We don't know the nature of that relationship. But you're forming a group which is solid. Like I think I saw that you had like 114, 115 on, which I think is consistent from previous weeks. You might have had a little bit more in the first session, but it's really just trying to understand, are they the same people? Are they different people? Those sorts of questions. Does that make sense? Oh, and I see you auto-save the list on your Zoom accounts. Oh, correct.
Yeah, we can maybe park it if everyone's okay for the agenda for Tuesday's planning meeting.
That's all, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Yes, so for cohort 7, a number of participants did reach out that they have troubles with their network and will not be able to join. And I also have another person today specifically also, she said she had a conflicting event, so she will not be able to participate. So we recorded today's session. So is it okay to share the recorded session with them via WhatsApp?
The thing for me about the breakout sessions is that sometimes their personal experience is shared, and I'm not too sure if everybody's okay to share it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's a
Being-
challenge because what's shared in the safe space
Yeah,
exists in the
stay
safe
there.
space, and you don't know how responsible people will be with the record.
Yeah.
I think the group needs to, maybe we need to agree as a group that the recording will be shared, but still ask them. So I think it's tricky.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're only recording the plenary for the most part, not cohort rooms. I mean, that's what the agreement was. But I see your point in Ola as well, and we're getting that in our cohort too. Maybe a workaround could potentially be, and this is just one suggestion of what I'm sure there are going to be many more, is to share the Jamboard, or a screenshot of the Jamboard or something where you have all the ideas that came up, but also mention in detail the activity as described in the run of the show, with edits, of course, in the WhatsApp group. Maybe that's a workaround. But personally, I don't think it's a great idea to share the recording of the cohorts on the WhatsApp, because we're telling participants, at least, for one cohort, for my cohort, I mentioned that this is your conversation space. We're not sharing anything. And yeah, from a GDPR perspective, that would be best to not record your cohorts and share the links. But I don't know what people think. There are actual challenges that you're facing, Tanola, and I know everyone else is, but it might be great to come up with one agreement. It would require more work over the WhatsApp groups. Yeah.
Drawing on experience from times before, from way past, it's sometimes useful, and if you have the time, of course, because we understand that you're fighting with time, but at the beginning of when you're sort of checking back into cohort groups, to be able to name, okay, some people were not here last week. Could someone from the group that was here last week just bring us all up to speed on what happened? What stood out for you from last? What do the people who weren't here need to know about where we went in our conversation? As a way of reconnecting the group and allowing them to interpret whatever happened. And that is all respectful of safe space once again, and you don't use the technologies, and it's just a question about bringing people back in who may have missed out. Yeah, in the before times we used to do that, but I have never tried it online, so okay. I see the time. Any other comments?
Today there were, I think, special technology issues, and I don't know I don't know where that comes from, or if there's anything we can do about it. But people who were kicked off the call and could not reconnect. I don't know if we can find out what causes that. I don't know. But we didn't have this kind of issues before. Before, people would fall off, but when they were able, their internet was stable, they were able to connect. But not being able to connect and the message coming up, like preventing them from, this was new. And I don't know if we can investigate, or if we know a little bit more about what causes that and what can be done to prevent. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not entirely sure. Some people were getting an error 503. I searched very briefly. What that means is just an issue on Zoom Send. It's, Zoom must be updating their firewall settings, and in some places it's not working with your specific IP addresses. So that's just something on Zoom Send that we can't really work with. Usually it gets sorted on its own in time. That is, Zoom will sort it, run debugs and troubleshoots and all of that. But that's only for people who kept on getting error 503, who shared, their screenshots on the WhatsApp group. For Adelia and Zanele, technically our plan allows 2 meetings to run at the same time. I checked that multiple times. I would, not have assigned 2 cohorts to one Zoom plan if that were not the case. Davis, was your account working fine? I mean, my assumption is that it was. Sorry? And Catchy, maybe you could fill in. Was it working okay? Were you able to log in and continue the meeting?
So I think Aisha, maybe I would speak to how I understand your question. I think what Tinu suggested. What I've been trying to do since we started for the last 2 sessions, the last one on today, is to log in with my phone and my laptop. So what I do is I stay, for the plenary session, I stay on my phone, and then my laptop is consistently logged on to the cohort. So that makes it easy for me. I don't, really.
Okay, but your room didn't fall off, right? Completely, because it's
No.
with Ritu's account. The two cohorts running from Ritu's account and the 2 cohorts running from my account. So yours and mine are running from my account. Adalia and Zanales are running from Ritu's, and they couldn't start the meeting simultaneously at all for the first 5-10 minutes. And then I guess it miraculously worked, right, Adalia?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I guess hopefully it's just an issue on Zoom's end from their latest update to their firewall settings, and it won't happen the next time. But to your point, Kanisa, about these very unique issues, I'm gonna try and figure out what happened and what could be worked on. But all I can say is that those are not things that people posted on the WhatsApp groups that we can work on. Which sucks, yes.
I would like to just make a comment that I really loved the dance party at the end, as always. And I think that there were more people who turned their cameras on, which makes it more and more fun. And it may be an indicator of people feeling relaxed and joining in. So it'll be interesting to watch as time goes on, but it's just terrific. And of course, the DJ, compliments to the DJ, feminist anthems.
Yeah, the DJ is fantastic, and it was a great way to end. I think it was after all the frustration of jumping in and out, we could jump out to music. Well done, Zanele. And also well done, Ayushi, for managing. I mean, it was intense today. And I think Ayushi was great. She kept her cool and was giving advice.
Agreed. Okay, so are we gonna do this all again next week?
Definitely, it's addictive.
Great. Have a great week and see you again soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. See you most of you on Tuesday.
Have a great evening.
Bye.
Henrika, maybe if you're in Cameroon, we can meet. She said she's in Cameroon.
Far away.
No, I think she meant not. Are you in Cameroon?
Yeah, I'm in Cameroon.
You're on mute, Henrika. Sorry, I was asking Henrika.
I'm saying I want to go to Cameroon. I want to
you
eat
want to
dole.
come to You're la bienvenue.
I'm dreaming of Cameroon.
Tu peux venir à tout moment, tu nous appelles, quoi.
Oh, merci, ma chère, c'est gentil.
She's looking forward to Cameroonian food.
Yes,
you
I
come and
miss
have
it.
some good dole.
I miss it. Send some to Kenya. We need it.
Okay, have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Nisha. Bye.
Thank you, Nucha. Thank you, Delia. Hi, Tati Banashe. I see that you're staying again.